Hi everyone, it's Rax. Diablo 4 Season 5 is about to start, so of course we've got to make our class tier list. Now, Blizzard made a ton of changes to the game that we haven't gotten to test after they reworked everything from the PTR, so honestly this tier list is mostly just for fun and me taking my best guess, but let's see if we can get pretty close here. Let's jump in and let's see if you can guess who's going to be number 1 on the tier list for Season 5. Let's get started. Let's quickly go over the methodology if you've never seen this tier list before. We're going to rank all the classes from 1 to 5 in the categories below. First is the best, fifth is the worst. So in leveling, their ability to get from 1 to 100, which got buffed massively this season. Speed is their ability to farm overworld events like Helltide, Nightmare Dungeons, low-level hits, the speedy content. Endgame content is their ability and quality in life in pushing the really high Nightmare Dungeons, the pit, and the Uber bosses, and now I guess the world bosses, because they're going to be more challenging. Survivability, how well they can survive, which was pretty much universally buffed around the entire game. Casual, how far can this class progress if you don't have very much time or very much skill or both? And remember, there is a season journey that's going to give you a free set that's going to play a huge role in this ranking. We'll combine all that into an overall ranking. Who's the best, who's the worst? The golden rule is don't let this tier list or any other source tell you how to have fun or how to play. Play whatever you would like. Now, in case you missed all the fun, let me tell you real quick what changed in Season 5 that might actually impact the rankings. Well, first of all, and most significantly, all uniques and the mythic uniques were reworked, pretty much all of them in the entire game. Usually, they received significant buffs. This is going to change things. There's a new game mode called the Infernal Hordes, which they made a lot better from the PTR, which is going to bring a ton of new legendaries and new uniques into the game, enabling new playstyles and builds. They straight up said barbs are too powerful, so they took their key passives and nerfed them, and considerably. Then they took the core stats and how much power you get from them, and they buffed it for all classes except the barb, trying to bridge the gap again. The base monster XP has now been expanded to 30 levels above you. That means if you can get a pretty powerful build early and fight monsters that are way higher than you, you can level up way faster. Again, the 1 to 100 experience is even easier. And one thing that I don't think is on this list, at level 100, you have an increased chance to find better items. So Blizzard is telling us that getting to max level in the game is going to be easier and easier, and they want the end game to start at that point. The Iron Wolf reputation system has returned. If you played last season, it's very similar. At the end is a resplendent spark, and yes, you can make multiple characters to get multiple resplendent sparks to get the brand new updated mythic uniques that are in the game. The pit bosses were nerfed, and group play in the pit is now buffed to receive all the rewards. World bosses are now much harder to kill, and what that means is in the end game, they might actually be fun to fight. In the early game, it means they're usually probably going to be a waste of time because we just need to be grinding XP to get to 100 to get that Magic Find buff. The Tormented boss loot was buffed, giving you an incentive to kill them. And finally, the Profane Mind Cages in Helltide that raise the level of the Helltide by 10 are back, and they stack up to 3 times. Synergizing with what you see in number 5, you can stack them 3 times to make the monsters 30 levels higher to let the XP fly. Coming in 5th, unfortunately, we have the Kenmore refrigerators themselves. You know, one of those 1980 gigantic refrigerators that just won't die. It's the Druid. It's hard to see a ton of things that are going to change for Druid relative to the other classes, even though Druids will be significantly better. Their leveling, I still think, will be the worst in the game. And for the season journey, they're going to get Cataclysm and Companions, which is not bad for leveling, which will help their casual ranking a little bit, but I still think their leveling is going to feel slower than the other classes. For speed in the endgame, Druids can kind of get moving a little bit better, but they're still on the slower end. They're nothing compared to a Sorcerer. They're nothing compared to a Rogue. I don't even think they can beat a Barb. So they're falling behind here. In the endgame, they will have builds that do very well. I'm certain of it. There's a lot of theory crafting to be done for Druids. They might end up better than last, but from what I'm seeing right now, I don't see anything too game-changing that is going to put them ahead of really anything from what I've read so far. Survivability, they're one of the absolute best. They're the Kenmore refrigerators that won't die for a reason, but I think a certain change to the Uber Uniques might make a class jump ahead of them. For casuals, it's going to be a little bit rough. Again, Cataclysm and Companions as the reward from the season journey will make it feel better. They did just buff the spirit boons, and they are going to be stronger for you, so that will help you as well. But it's going to be a little bit rough. You're going to have to put in a lot of effort for the Druid to feel good. Overall, I put them in last. Their best builds are Landslide, Cataclysm, Lightning Storm, and Companion. For Season 6, it's the same thing we've been asking for a long time. They've helped us a little bit, but not enough. The Druid leveling experience sucks. Coming in fourth, we have the Necromancer, and Necromancers were the gods of last season, and they did get some buffs this season, specifically to some of their blood builds. They will level extremely fast, and in the endgame, they will have some very powerful builds like Bone Spirit. So anywhere you go, as long as you pick the right stuff, it will feel good to be a Necro. Leveling, Blood Surge, and Minion Necros rule at leveling. They're very tanky. They can clear the entire room. The minions do very good on the bosses. They're very good at farming the super key Nightmare Dungeon events. Leveling as a Necromancer is kind of a dream, especially if you pick minions and something like that combined with Blood Surge. For speed in the endgame, they do have some new tools that Blizzard has given us to make them even faster. They made them a little faster in Season 4, and now they're teasing some new tools makes them even faster than that. We'll see how it goes. It's more of a I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing. I think every class will be able to speed farm faster than a Necro until I see otherwise. In the endgame, again, Minions and Bone Spirit will do really well, but it's kind of a question mark. They buffed Blood Surge a little bit, and they supposedly buffed Bloodlance pretty significantly. Also kind of, and I'll believe it when I see it, but if you go Bone Spirit in the endgame, it'll be just fine. Their survivability is pretty good. Never had a problem on Necro, especially with their minion army helping them. The only reason why they're dropping is the Mythic Unique buffs. I think you already know who that's going to put at the top. For casuals, it will feel just fine playing Necromancer. Their season set is nothing too spectacular for leveling. In fact, you could pretty much just ignore it and just play Minions and Blood Surge again and still pretty much be the fastest in the game. And it'll feel pretty good the whole way through. Overall, I put them in fourth. Not a big deal. Necromancers will be fine. Minions, Bone Spirit, Blood Surge, and Bloodlance are going to be their best builds. I'm really hoping that Blood Surge and Bloodlance emerge as being really, really godly builds, but we'll have to see. Season 6, they might have to look at some of the builds that are falling behind, like Blight, for example, and Sever, and a lot of the Corpse Explosion builds are kind of falling behind. That's something that Blizzard needs to keep an eye on. Coming in third, we have the Rogue. And I had Rogues in fifth last season, and maybe part of this is I just kind of underestimated Rogues. They ended up being very, very powerful, and when I made my Heartseeker Rogue, I absolutely loved it. And they said in their campfire chat that Rogues looked pretty good, and they didn't need to make too many significant changes. But some of the things that they're getting actually do look pretty good, which is going to make Rogues pretty strong. For leveling, Rogues have always been pretty good at leveling. They require a bit more skill than the other classes, but they can absolutely get it done, and they're very, very fast. So that will help them a lot. In speed, Rogues are literally built for speed. The only thing that's faster than a Rogue is a teleporting Sorcerer. So they're always going to be super high in this. Don't see that ever changing. In the endgame, they have so many powerful builds. Down below, they have Barrage, they have Penetrating Shot, they have Rapid Fire. They just buffed Flurry. And there's a specialty build that we have on Maxroll, the Andariel's build, and Andariel's was just buffed, along with a lot of the other uniques. Probably only going to be stronger than before. Rogues have a lot of options in the endgame, combined with their bad survivability, as long as you can solve for that, and that seems like it'll be very easy to solve this season. I expect Rogues to put up some very, very impressive clears in the pit this season. and absolutely be able to shred the Uber bosses. I don't think it'll be a problem. For casuals, it will feel really good because they're giving you the flurry gear, which should feel really good. So as long as you can handle, pressing a lot of buttons, I think the gear that you're going to get in the state that the rogues are in right now, I think you'll be just fine. And I'm comfortable putting them towards the top for a casual. Overall, I have them in third. Again, maybe they didn't deserve to be fifth last time. Maybe that was a little harsh. Happy to put them higher this time. We talked about their best builds, and we talked about what they need more defense, or maybe if it's not literally more defense, more easier ways to access that defense. Coming in second, we have my favorite class, the Barbarian. And I had every intention, again, before I made all the changes, switched all the numbers, looked at everything, I pretty much had every intention of putting Barb in first place. Even with the major nerfs to Barbs, even with the buffs to the core stats of all the other classes, Barbarians are essentially in first until proven otherwise, is kind of my theory, because they've just been so strong for so long. And another thing that's going to help the Barbarians much more than the other classes is the fact that the mythic uniques were buffed. The Barbarian has so many item slots that they can pick and choose exactly what uber uniques they're looking for to make some of the godliest endgame builds. And I still think, beyond all the nerfs, that's going to give them a major advantage, and why I have them in first place for endgame and in first place now for survivability. It's more so thinking toward that very endgame when you get the very best gear, which I think a lot of people are going to have access to because the game continues to get easier patch after patch after patch. We're still waiting for that patch where Blizzard implements that really hard content that is going to truly challenge everybody playing it. For leveling on a Barb has never been easy. Yes, you see all these people when they have their full Dust Devil gear running through and just deleting everything and leveling in world record time, but you have to find that gear, and you have to have the tempers to make that gear look like that. When you just start off, you don't have this, and it's really not good news. They've got some knockback weapon swapping gear that they're going to give you. That does not sound good. Maybe it'll be better than I think it is, but it certainly doesn't sound good. Leveling's going to be rough for your first character if you're going to play the Barbarian. Barbarians are super speedy once they get the gear. It's a little rough in the beginning. They will absolutely get there. Are you willing to put forth the effort to get that super high movement speed? And of course, you always have the option of putting leap and charge into your build to go even faster. So it's kind of choose your own speed kind of class. In the end game, with the mythic uniques, when you start to really pump everything, I expect Barbarians to win again. If they don't win, it'll be good for the game that finally somebody else is going to beat them out. I'll believe it when I see it. I doubt it. The mythic uniques are there. I think they're going to crush. For casuals, if you listen to all that stuff combined together, you're going to have to get to the end game and get everything in order to feel like a god. I think going up to that point is going to feel like a little bit of a slog, kind of how it always does with Barb at the start. If you don't have much time to play, I would put Barbs in last, and I would definitely try something else this season. Overall, I'd put them in second place. Anything Dust Devils, Flay, Bash, Rend, maybe some other build that people haven't really been looking at will be excellent in Season 5, especially in the endgame. Season 6, we've been asking for this for a long time. Barbarians need a better way to start the game. The end game has never been the problem for them. We need a better way to level up than what we've had so far. And finally, I never thought I'd see the day where with a straight face, I could put Sorcerer in first place in Diablo 4, but I think Sorcerer, pound for pound, is probably going to be the best class next season. I really don't know what weaknesses they have other than survivability, but Blizzard has given us a lot more ways to build in the survivability specifically for sorcerers that's really going to help them. Also, sorcerer damage was significantly buffed in multiple different ways. It was actually, their skills were just literally buffed up, and their core skills are better. They have new legendary powers. They have new uniques, and some of their existing uniques were significantly buffed. They specifically said they were targeting this class. it seems like it's going to elevate them to another level that we have not seen them been able to reach in the game so far. Sorcerers are amazing at leveling. They have two builds that are just phenomenal. Blizzard and Firewall, both for leveling, especially when you get the specific power for Blizzard if you find that. Both of them absolutely shred. And don't forget Chain Lightning. And Chain Lightning is what they're going to hand you for free in the season journey. You could argue that actually Sorcerer leveling might be #1 over Necros because they're handing you Chain Lightning. But Minion Blood Surge is pretty insane. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. For speed, nothing moves faster than when you fully build your Sorcerer. And it seems like they have some additional ways to go even faster than they could go before, which is hard to believe. But I think Sorcerers are going to be blinking around Helltide, chain deleting everything. It's going to be fun to watch. In the endgame, they're going to move up significantly because their builds got massively buffed. It's all going to come down to one question. Can Sorcerers do good single target damage? If the answer is yes, they're going to be gods. And if they're stuck fighting the boss for 1 hour, then the answer is going to be no. We know down below in their best builds, Firebolt will be able to do single target. But what about Chain Lightning? What about the Fireball changes? Will they be able to do single target? We're going to have to see. Survivability, they're not the best, but they'll be just fine with the buffs this season. Not a big deal. For casuals, I think it's easily the best choice. They're very good at leveling. They will be very good in the end game. You can play Chain Lightning the entire time and never spec out of it. And they're giving you the Chain Lightning set. So it's kind of a no-brainer. If you don't know what to play as a casual, you should definitely play a Sorcerer and start as Chain Lightning. That's what I will be starting. And I will have a video following up explaining my plans. I will do the hardcore race to 100, but then I'm going to switch to softcore and play with you guys. More on that later. Overall, I think Sorcerers are the best. Even if they don't get the #1 pit clear, even if they don't have the fastest Uber boss kills, I think Sorcerers are going to feel the best to play everywhere. It's hard to find weaknesses in the Sorcerer anymore. I'm really hoping they're going to be as good as I think they are, but from the changes that I'm seeing, and I played a lot of the builds already, it seems pretty bulletproof as long as the fixes going in, like they fixed the axial conduits for the Chain Lightning, as long as they tested it and it actually fixed the problem, I think they're going to be frying, man. I don't think you could possibly go wrong with a Sorcerer. Their best builds are Chain Lightning, Fireball, Firebolt, Firewall, and Blizzard. And Frozen Orb's not bad either. I'm already going to, in advance, ask for better single target. Maybe it'll be better than I think it is, but that's probably going to be their remaining weakness on the class. Here we are on the ranking summary sheet. Go ahead and pause the video or take a screenshot if you'd like to look at it right now. Now let's look at a slide completely for fun. Let's see which classes Blizzard loves and which classes Blizzard hates. I was actually very surprised to see that based on my historical rankings, Druid, Necro, and Rogue are tied for their average placement on my tier list is about 3.5. They're kind of shifting back and forth. And believe it or not, Sorcerer is actually doing pretty well. And Barbarians, of course, have been absolutely crushing everybody since the beginning of time. One interesting note is the only class that has never been rank 1 on my tier list is Druids. So what's up with that, Blizzard? That's it, guys. That's my Season 5 class tier list for Diablo 4. What did you think of it? Do you think I'm completely wrong and stupid and overestimating something or underestimating something? What would your have rankings been? I admit we haven't gotten to actually test the massive amount of changes that Blizzard has put into the game. So until we actually get in there and try, we won't know. But I made this for fun. People love this video, seeing it every season. So here it is. Gave it my best shot. See how true it is once everything comes out. I will have a video explaining my plans for the season and how you guys can play with me on softcore. I'll make all 5 classes to 100 and I'll help you guys gear up. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then also, I will make a video on all of the best builds. I will make all of these builds because I'm a loser and I'll just play all day. I'll make them all, and I'll quickly walk you through it and tell you what builds are really awesome and why. That way you can make an informed decision and be ready to blast. I'll see you on the season launch. We'll be streaming pretty much the entire time. Thank you.